Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Average Joe Hockey Report. Once again, I've got my special guest, my best friend Brett,
Hi everyone.
and in this video, we're gonna go over because it's been 30 years since a Canadian team has last won the Stanley Cup. We're gonna go over. We're gonna rank it from 1 to 7, or 7 to 1, really. Um, uh, which Canadian team is the most likely to win the cup? We're ranking them from obviously ranks 7 to 1, as in like least likely to likely, whatever. Um, Brett, who would you for number 7? Who would you like to start off with?
At number 7, I kind of had a toss up between two teams, but I think I'm going to go with Vancouver Canucks.
Ooh,
I just think, obviously they made some trades last year, traded away a star player. They're obviously rebuilding, and they've got a lot of work to do before they're contenders. So that's my number 7. And goaltending for them, they don't have a good starting goalie.
well, I'd say okay. So I have Vancouver at 7 as well, but I think Demko does have potential. So I think more or
Yeah.
less is yeah, I just more or less think he's very young, kind of rushed in, whatever, and they're kind of. I'd like to think. Well, I guess no, actually, I mean they like regarding like they had Jakob Markstrom at one point, but they didn't protect him in the Seattle Kraken draft, and they eventually let him go off to Calgary or whatever. But I think just Demko is just still pretty young or whatever. But the team in front of him is just no. They just bought out Oliver Ekman Larson, which was something they were better off doing. So and Tyler Myers only 1 year left on his contract, but yeah, they're definitely in that rebuilding state, and and the JT Miller contract's not that's still there, which is not necessarily a great contract and whatever. And yep, who do you got at number 6, Brett?
The Montreal Canadiens, another team that's rebuilding. Again, goaltending is a question mark for them. Other than Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki, they don't have much offensive power. Defense is a big question mark for them. Obviously, like I said, they're in the beginning of a rebuild. It's going to be a while before they're relevant.
You know, I funny. I actually thought you would have Montreal 7th and Vancouver 6th, but I'm glad you said that, and I agree. I actually have Montreal at number 6.
Two for
Definitely.
two so far. Holy crap.
Yeah, no kidding. What the heck? Yeah, but yeah, like the obvious. I like Montreal's prospect pool, but he pretty much nailed it. He pretty much nailed it there. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. They're definitely still very at the very bottom, the one of the least likely teams to end the curse and whatnot. And yeah. All right, who do you got at number 5?
Number 5, I have a toss up between two teams. I think I'm going to say number 5. I'm going to go with Calgary. They
Yeah.
had a bad year this year, and they got a new GM, right? And a new coach.
Uh,
Or
yeah,
they're in the
yes,
process
yes.
of it.
Craig,
Yeah.
no wait, Craig Conroy is there for the. Craig Conroy is the new GM for Calgary. I just remembered now.
Yes. So I just think obviously that's going to take some time for them to bring in some new pieces that are relevant. Obviously, the Matthew Tkachuk trade didn't go well for them. Yes, Huberdeau and Uyghur still have potential to be good, but I just think it's more than just those two pieces, and I think they've got a lot of work to do before they get relevant.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I have Calgary at number 5
Oh
as
my
well. I
god.
have Calgary at number 5 as well, just because they're going through a new identity and whatever. And but I think they've made the right moves at upper management. I didn't care for Brad Treveling's lack of action, and then finally he takes action, and then and then and then it doesn't go well, and then to add to it, I just don't think Daryl Sutter is a modern day coach. So I think it's just a matter of hiring a coach that's more understanding towards some of the some of the players or whatever. Yeah, and Hubert or Uyghur, I think the new coach will be nicer on them, and maybe they'll have a better point total or whatever. And but yeah, it's going to take a lot of work. And Jakob Markstrom hasn't necessarily put up the greatest of numbers, whatever. It's not necessarily all that bad. There's still time for Markstrom to turn it around, and even then, if he doesn't, Dustin Wolf is still in the system, putting up some good numbers in the AHL. But yeah, it's going to take Calgary a while for sure. At number 4, who do you got?
think I'm gonna say Ottawa Senators. They have some good pieces, but again, goaltending is a big question mark there. They're a young team that are just starting to come out of their rebuild. I think they're still a few years away from being a contender. They need some more help on forward, and I think they could also use a few defensemen still.
Um, this is where I'm actually going a different route. At number 4, I have Winnipeg Jets. Uh, I just like I with all the rumors of everybody wanting out, wanting trades, not wanting to be part of the rebuild. I still think the Jets at number 4, can still get some good pieces for everybody rumored to be traded away. Um, might be tougher to trade Pierre-Luc Dubois now that he reportedly apparently wants 9 million, which is interesting considering the highest point total he's ever had was 63 points. But yeah, I'd like to think Jets, they have some decent prospects. I think that all the pieces that they're going to trade away, I'd like to think they should get some good returns for them and whatnot. And yeah, so you have the Jets at number 3.
Yes, I have the Jets at number 3. The only reason I put them ahead of Ottawa is because I think they have more pieces ready right now than Ottawa, even with the players leaving. I know Hellebuck is rumored to be leaving potentially this season, or if not after next season. If he's still here this season, that's a big thing for the Jets. Dubois, obviously, we know is on his way out. Scheifele is rumored to be on his way out, although nothing has been confirmed yet. But they still have Kyle Connor, Nick Ehlers, Nino Niederreiter, Cole Perfetti, Adam Lowry. They still have several good pieces that have playoff experience, and I honestly think maybe getting rid of Dubois and Scheifele, maybe they're some of the locker room cancers, and maybe it'll help the locker room out. And with Rick Bowness behind the bench, I mean, we saw the way the team played the first half of the season. They were leading the Central Division, and I just think not that I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup, I just think their odds are a little bit better than Ottawa's based on the players that each team has available and ready now.
Okay, well, this is why I had the Jets. For his reasoning, this is why I had the Jets at number 4. But I like to think that Ottawa's core is going to break out sooner or later. Led by Brady Tkachuk. You got Tim Stützle. You've got Drake Batherson. There's been a few rumors about Alex DeBrincat. If it materializes, I'd like to think there's a good return there, and I like their defense.
How about Claude Giroux?
Yeah, Claude Giroux. Well, he can still play some pretty good hockey. I like Thomas Chabot. I like Jake Sanderson. I like some of their other guys on defense. It's just a matter for Ottawa, like two things. It's like, when are you going to take the next step, for one, and two, who's going to be your goalie? Because Cam Talbot's not getting any younger, and you got rid of a good young goalie in Philip Gustafsson, who thrived very well in Minnesota last season, and yeah.
I just want to add one comment into Marty, have a little discussion here. Ottawa has a lot of those guys, they're so young, they don't have any playoff experience. And to me, the Jets have guys that have a lot of playoff experience and have been there before. And I think that goes a long way in helping win a Stanley Cup.
All right. So who do you got at number 2 then?
Edmonton. The Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, they have McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. Hopefully they can re-sign Bouchard. What's the guy's name they got from Nashville? The defense. Ekblad. No, not.
No, it's Ekholm.
Ekholm.
Matthias Ekholm, yes.
I knew it was Ek something. Anyways, they have Ekholm, who was a pretty good acquisition for them. I think obviously goaltending is a struggle, and I think they need they need to add a defenseman or two, but if they can get both of those things done, I think they'll have a team that can go pretty far.
Yeah, so I have this as a toss-up. So it's kind of tough. What I'm gonna do is, I want to talk. Obviously we only got 2 teams left to talk about. Is the Edmonton Oilers and Toronto Maple Leafs. We might as well just combine them together, whatever. At times I've been flip-flopping back and forth between Edmonton and Toronto at the number 2 and number 1 spots. Like Edmonton, I think there's less panic there. And you've got your stars there. You got rid of the Jesse Puljujarvi situation.
Toronto has their stars too.
Hold on. They were making it further than Toronto, but and the division Edmonton's in. They're taking advantage of that. It's really their toughest challenge in the Pacific Division. Obviously the defending champs, the Vegas Golden Knights. But yeah, uh, I will say this, like, I like the forward depth, between, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, although a few trade rumors about Nugent Hopkins there. And then, Evander Kane, Zach Hyman, I swear there's what did I name? Five guys? I swear there's a sixth that I like. You know, and and I like the addition of Matthias Ekholm, but that's the one thing there. You look past the forwards, you go to the defense, and the only defensemen I like, are Evan Bouchard, Matthias Ekholm, and Philip Broberg, who's not necessarily ready yet. He's just getting his feet wet. Otherwise,
Not Darnell Nurse.
no, a lot of people are saying Darnell Nurse got a bit overpaid. I mean, at one point Tyson Barrie was getting more points than he did. Whatnot. And then yeah, just some of their other guys on defense I wasn't necessarily a fan of. Stewart and goaltending. Jack Campbell. I never liked his mechanics as a goalie or whatever. Even in Toronto, and to be surprised, I'm not necessarily surprised that he struggled a little bit in Edmonton. Stuart Skinner did pretty good at one point, or whatever, but I think it's just more or less the youth there. So that's how I feel about Edmonton. Toronto though, so Toronto. 'Cause, like, we're both obviously gonna be talking about the Leafs, but like, I like the Leafs. I'd say better, like, on paper than the Edmonton Oilers. Like, you start with goaltending. Like, I like the way Ilya Samsonov played. Joseph Woll's been, I thought he fared pretty well in that short term that he had against the Florida Panthers, and he put up some good numbers in the AHL. And then you look at the defense. I think that's where the biggest problem is on defense. I think it was more or less just Morgan Riley mostly carrying the load. Although I am a fan of Jake McCabe. And Timothy Liljegren, I think you just need to give him time to develop. I mean, he's still producing some decent points, but it's just a matter of, like, giving him some time to, like, develop his full game or whatever. And then, well, there's nothing really more to talk about the forwards. The forwards, there's depth for
Luke
days.
Shen.
Well, I don't mind Luke Shen, but I think he's ideally mostly like a third D pairing
Yes.
guy or whatever.
And
Yeah.
Jake Muzzin, if he ever comes back from injury.
Muzzin was kind of on the decline even when he was healthy or whatever. I don't know. How do you feel about the Leafs?
Yeah, I like the Leafs forward depth better than the Oilers. I just think they have deeper lines.
I like the D. I like the D depth on the Leafs better than the
Yes,
Oilers
I would
as
agree.
well.
Although I still think one more good D man would be good for
Absolutely,
the Leafs.
absolutely. I think that's
I think that's what they're missing.
I think absolutely, and I think that's why they have not really necessarily been able to go far in the playoffs. Mind you, we always talk about this Leafs narrative of bowing out in the first round, and then finally make it past the first round, they bow out easily in the second round, whatever. I kind of wonder though, with Boston on the decline. Who knows how Florida's going to get over that hangover now of making it to the Cup Finals? Could we see we're seeing
The
also
Lightning on the decline.
yeah, the Lightning's on the decline. I was going to get to that. Could we actually see the Leafs be at the top of the Atlantic Division, being the top dogs there? So yeah, that's why I was flip flopping between Edmonton and Toronto. Here's the one thing though, I think it's very imperative. Do they panic now that Brad Treveling's in, now that Cal Dubas is out, now that they've hired and fired a few guys? Do they panic? Do they keep the core together or for one more run, or do you think it's time to, like, switch? I don't know. I don't know. I think that's the biggest question regarding the Leafs. Is like, does the core stay together? Because Matthews wants a long-term contract or whatever. And there's a few other guys in maybe a season or two that they're gonna come out. We're gonna have expiring contracts. So do you keep that core together, or do you feel, okay, this core's not working out, we need to make a few changes or whatever? I don't know. I think it would sound like a bit of a panic move, and it's one of the reasons why I dislike the Leafs. I find they either make panic moves or they have scapegoats, and I feel like they get rid of the guy, and it's maybe the guy hasn't necessarily solved the problem too much, but he's not necessarily the only problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, this video is mostly based on opinion and may not have any implications on how these teams fare for next season and whatnot. So remember, if we're wrong, don't belittle us, educate us, and don't feel free to leave comments about how you feel about the 7 Canadian teams. And yeah.
He means do leave comments. You said don't.
Whatever. I don't know. Anyways. Take care, everyone, and follow my Instagram account, The Average Joe Hockey Report, and my YouTube channel, Marty Tommy, in parentheses, Average Joe Hockey Report.
Bye.
Bye.